Secretary, our General Secretary, the General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, Civic.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, colleagues, supporters of the party. As General Secretary, my first task is to thank all of you for being here today. We know many of you have traveled from very far to come to this activity, a place that we come to every year to pay homage to the founding father of our party, and also to give you a review of the challenges faced by our party and government. And therefore, you've heard extensively from the President as to some of the challenges we confront in managing this country. We're very fortunate that Dr. Jagan laid out a philosophy for our party to which we have remained faithful, and that successive leaders have embraced that philosophy and have acted consistent with its implementation, giving it life. President Irfan Ali is the latest in a line of leaders who have done so, and who has done so admirably. From here, he goes on, he leaves tonight to Jamaica to chair a meeting that will seek to bring order and restore some faith to the people in Haiti. Because in that country, the criminals now have taken over the country. There is no government. It is becoming a failed society. A lot of it because of external ambiguity. And I've seen President Ali give leadership to that process. And many times I say this because you would have heard also from APNU, because many times they try to control our minds. Yesterday, it was not yesterday, Thursday, I had a conversation with someone, and I've had several conversations with people who come to Freedom House. And she said to me, she is a hardcore member of the PNC who has come to us. And she said to me, they toy with people's emotions. And that is how they kept us enslaved, because they touch you in your hearts. They say the things that people can willingly forego and ignore all the progress that the country is making because they touch the emotive issues. And so there you say to the people of this country, we don't like the Haitians. We stopped, when the PPP came into office, we stopped the Haitians from coming to Guyana. But what were the facts? The facts were that 40,000 Haitians were smuggled through Guyana. Smuggled through Guyana with people complicit working with APNU. They collected money to smuggle them, bring them here, pass them through the airport, take them to the border with Brazil, and smuggle them out the country. They made millions of US dollars smuggling 40,000 Haitians through our country. They didn't love the Haitians. It was a money-making venture. The people who are opposed to that, because we stopped it, are opposed to it not because they love the Haitians, but because it affects them in their pockets. It was corrupt. but they mischaracterized it. Said, oh, Haitians are of African origin, therefore the PPP didn't want them here. It's not true. It's not true. People didn't stay here, the 40,000 Haitians. They were smuggled through this country. And so, today I want to talk to you about some basic truths. The first basic truth that we understood a long time ago, that this country can never develop fully, can never meet its full potential unless all of the people benefit from the progress. That is, people of every race, every religion. You've heard the young people read excerpts from Cheddi Jagan. In the 60s, when we had the externally inspired confusion and riots, because if you read the source documents now, you would see that it was the British and the Americans that came here to divide our people because they did not want us to achieve independence under Cheddi Jagan. They believed that he would have changed the power dynamics in the area. And so they divided our people. Cheddi Jagan was under pressure. You had people on the streets in the riots. But you heard what he said. We have to remain faithful to national unity and bring in our people across races together. And we understood that. We have lived that in every single PPP government. You go back to our policies throughout the period when we had no money. APNU left us a bankrupt country in 1992, and you don't have to take my word for it. You can listen, read the source documents. You can look at Carl Greenidge's affidavit in the green mining construction, and you will see what type of country it was. And we made sure, in spite of those challenges, that our country moved forward and all of our people moved forward. So if today, again, the buzzword for APNU again, racism, that's the only political tool they use to mobilize people. And they say that they are in favor of Afro-Guyanese. But Afro-Guyanese were some of the worst treated people in the 5 years they were in office. You go and talk to the people in Linden, and all the jobs that they promised, zero housing, nothing for them. So they don't love Afro-Guyanese. It's elitist. The few of them, like some of the ministers, were getting all the sweets. They got the scholarships, they got the land, they got the contracts. You had Cathy Hughes in her own ministry approving contracts for herself, her own company. This was what happened. The people of the country suffered. Contrast that with the PPP. If you look at this crowd, if you look at our activities, if you look at our programs, and that's the worst nightmare for APNU, that all of our people right across Guyana, in spite of their race, they're benefiting from the People's Progressive Party. That's a fundamental difference between us. So some people may believe, APNU is fighting for us. They're not fighting for you. They're fighting for themselves. The only party that you can find a home in, if you're Afro-Guyanese or Amerindian or mixed or Indo-Guyanese, that will ensure that you and your children see progress, sustainable progress, is the People's Progressive Party. Yes, it's the People's Progressive Party. That is, and the Portuguese. The few of them who are with us, and all of them are with us, right? So, this is important. And if we don't understand that, we would allow what happened in the period before 2015, Let me tell you what they used to do. They will send the AFC to Berbice, and on the television here, they will say the PPP is doing everything for Afro-Guyanese in Region 10. They're neglecting you who are supporters of the PPP. They will go to Region 10. APNU will now go to Region 10 and say to the people in Region 10, they're doing everything for the Indian people in Berbice. You are being neglected. And then they would go to the Amerindian communities and say, they're doing everything for Afro-Guyanese and Indians. You are being neglected. 3 different messages for 3 different groups of people. The People Progressive Party has one message for all of Guyana. All of Guyana. And they're back at it again. That is why I'm mentioning it. They're back at it again. And if we're not conscious of this, we would, like in 2015, we'd be duped. We'd fall prey to this. So they go and tell the people in Linden now that they're giving the sugar workers all the money. Look at the sugar workers, big subsidies for sugar workers. This year's budget, 5 billion subsidy for sugar workers. But it's a sugar industry we're trying to keep that has an impact on the whole of Berbice. But in the same budget, we have $5 billion of subsidy for Region 10. They wouldn't mention that because we're even-handed. We want to make sure that was a historic subsidy for electricity, the only region that has a subsidy for electricity. And they're back at it again. Norton is in the hinterland now, talking to Amerindians now, telling them how we are discriminating against them. The Amerindian communities have never seen the type of progress they've ever seen now under this government. I can list the things, but I'm not going to list what we're doing here today. I just want you to capture this idea. If we are not careful, they will succeed in dividing our people again by picking them off one by one, by appealing to their emotions. They would say, oh, look, they're doing something there. That's the first thing we have to be careful about. Secondly, there is another battle being waged. They believe again they can go back to the 2015 era and say to people, oh, the PPP is corrupt once again. The PPP is corrupt. Every single day, they are in the media and they have an idea how to do everything better than we have done. So let me tell you, part of our job was cleaning things up. They had 5 years in government to prove corruption on all the things they talk about that when we were in office. The president mentioned Marriott. Marriott was supposed to be corrupt. They found that 100% of Marriott is owned by the government of Guyana, the people of Guyana. Kite Shore News for 5 years before 2015 said, well, not before 2015, thereafter, in that period, said, I own the Marriott. Many people ask me for free room at the Marriott. They believe I actually own the thing. Another set, they said, I own an airline. So Shirley Edwards, one of our comrades, called me, senior person, a member of parliament, central committee member. Bharrat, can you get 2 tickets for me on the airline? It was so persistent. And the lies and lies that they told, and Kite Shore News is once again back telling these lies. They never admitted to the lies. They just told a bigger lie. And so, once again, some of our own people start repeating the same lies without seeing the bigger motive that is political in nature. So today, headline says, We spent $75 million in a hotel to house children who we are training, the nurses, the trainee nurses and midwives in region 2. It's a total lie. I've called Frank Anthony last night. They're putting out a statement. You will see what the actual numbers are. But if you can put that as your lead headline today, by the time we get around to correct it, the Kaichor News will never put the correction there. They will never put a correction. But that will persist in people's minds. Oh, they spent $75 million to pay a hotel for the students who are there. It's a blatant lie. Every single day you see it because they have a political motive. And we have to make sure that we do not fall prey to that. You see all sorts of opinions. Starbrook News, guest editor. Guest editor doesn't have a name. So they say the vilest things about the government without no accountability. They're cowards. A peeping Tom doesn't have a name. In most serious newspapers, you'd have to identify who you are and defend your opinion. So that's a license for them to tell all the lies because they don't have to say who they are. They're using that. They're using social media to spread their lies. And if we're not careful ourselves, because it's so overwhelming, it's so incessant, it's on a daily basis, that we may start believing it once again. And that's why we need you to be conscious. Do you think it's a pleasure to listen to the Kaichor News come with a reporter at my press conference and ask me 15 questions, and I take all of them, and they're stupid questions, really stupid questions, ignorant questions, the worst sorts of questions. But I spend time going over material that we have gone through many, many times because I want to make sure that people hear the explanation. The oil and gas sector, another thing you hear about, oh, they couldn't fulfill their programs because they didn't have oil money. This is the new thing they're telling everybody, that the government is flush with oil money. You must stop working. You can get a grant from the government that you can live without working. The United States of America has the biggest economy in the world. They're the largest producer of oil, one of the largest exporters of gas now in the world. And people work 2-3 jobs there to make a living. Here, we got an economy that is small. Just the oil and gas sector is growing, but we must stop working and get free money because it's a political thing. They want to say, oh, the government not giving you the oil and gas money, or the oil and gas money funding everything. Well, let me tell you something. In the budget that we just passed, less than 30% of that budget is financed from oil and gas resources. Less than 30% of it. If we use all the money from the oil and gas sector that we receive in 2023, it is less than 30% of the budget that we're implementing this year. The oil and gas money alone, when you pay wages and salaries and pension, that is over 50% of all the oil money that we receive. So we're not flush with oil money. Imagine less than 30% of your budget. The rest has to come from elsewhere. So how are we going to distribute what we don't have? Norton keeps saying, oh, we should give everybody $5 million a year. Well, that would be 20 times more than we're collecting from the oil and gas sector now. 20 times more he wants us to give to people than we're collecting from the sector. And you can see these figures, but it sounds good. And many of our people are saying, where the oil money there? with the oil money, they may get the oil money yet. So if you don't understand this sort of thing, then we will be in big trouble. The next thing they say, oh, don't spend on infrastructure. Give all the money in cash. So one man wrote a letter saying that he went to the market, he paid $50 for an apple, and his 3 mango for $1,000. And we should stop building all the pumps and give the subsidy to the people to produce mangoes. Well, you got to understand a couple of things about that. One, the apple is produced and they wax it and save it. It's an industry, so you get it all year around. We got mango season. When the mango is done, the prices just go up. I know that historically, when the mango season done. But he wants us to stop building all the pumps. And next year, because there are 20-something of those pumps that are being put in place, 20-something that will help to save the farmers. I remember the same thing. The Guyana Human Rights Association, Stabrook News, the Guyana Association of Professional Engineers were opposed to me when I was president doing the Hope Canal. I used to go with Cheddi Jagan every rainy season in the Mahaica and Myconia Bari areas. People are flooded because we had to release water from the conservancy in the river. We couldn't take it into the Atlantic. They were opposed to it. They said we must not build that canal. Since the canal has been open, we've never had another flood in those areas where we've had to release, caused by the release of water from the conservancy. We spent $16 million US on that canal, but we saved in a single crop maybe $25 million US because the farmers used to lose their rice. People have to learn to think long term. So they're saying roads. I was giving another example. Some comrades, I went out in the community and they said to me, we ain't get nothing since the government come in the PPP. We support the PPP. We ain't get nothing yet. We just built a road for $50 million in front of 30 houses. That means you spent over $1 million per household to give them a better road there that Apnu would have never done it, and they would have had to walk on this mud dam all the time. But they don't see that as part of the improvement in their lives. As the president said, everybody wants something more. In the same vein, we hear a lot about teachers strike and give more to the public servants. We've pointed out that we've increased the budget for wages and salaries since we got into office for public servants by about $30 billion more. But you have workers all around the country. You have farmers who have to get help, mine have to get help, bauxite workers who have to get help. People in every sector have to get help, not just in the public service. On the other hand, we have done quite a bit of changes in the public service itself. Take, for example, education. We've increased the budget from $52 billion in 2019 to $135 billion in education. That is a 160% increase. It's not just wages. It is funding, training opportunities, it's better classrooms, it's new schools, because we want to deliver a first world type of education. That shows a commitment to education. We can't just pay every cent. So if we give all of it to teachers' salaries, and then the same thing, you don't have classrooms, you don't, the roof leaking, etc. People are going to complain about that. We're spending now nearly $700,000 per child. In the private sector, if you send your child to private education, In a year, you will pay, the fees will be 300,000, less than half of what the state is going to spend this year per child, because we've outlined this goal. In the health sector, the increase has grown from 30-something billion to nearly $30 billion, an increase of 260%. That is in a 4 years period. And why? Because right now we're building 12 new hospitals, and we're putting in place rehabilitating hospitals right across the country, the older ones. In Linden, where we're not building a new hospital, we're spending $30 million to upgrade the Linden Hospital. But here in Berbice, you'll have 2 state-of-the-art type of hospital. So the pensioners can then go there too. We're not only doubling old age pension in the 5 years that we promised, but the pensioners who may need better health care, they can go there. That the people who may now need a CT scan doesn't have to pay for it or go to Georgetown to get it. It will be free. That's why you have to have a long-term vision for this country. So we must be careful. Everybody becomes populist. Oh, we got to get more money all the time. But if we do that, now spend every cent. And this is the APNU philosophy. When we say we have a long-term plan, they used to say, when we say the word we, that we mean Indians. When I say we, I mean PPP, which is a party made up of Indo-Guyanese, Afro-Guyanese, Amerindians, every other race in this country. So when I said we are different than APNU, I mean we here, we're different. We're looking to the future. We're looking to create value. We want our children to study, not just 100 scholarships and ministers and their families would get it, like Simona Broom's got. We spent probably $70 million for 2 of our kids that were not even Guyana scholars, but we have now 27,000 people on the Gold Scholarship Program now studying. 27,000 children right across the country, all 10 regions of Guyana. It's a difference. Norton wants us, he said, if I win, we'd support your rent. We don't want people to rent, we want them to own. That's why we have a housing program. If you come to the PPP, we're different. We're different. We're not gonna rent, we want everybody to own a house in this country, their own home. When we say we want to create wealth for people, we mean you must get a house, you must get a car, you must have a vacation, all of this. People at the top, we want the businessmen to grow, to create more jobs. They say we're pro-private sector. Of course we're pro-private sector because we want them to invest more and create better jobs. They practically destroy the private sector. The miners, as the president told you, the miners, they promise them, and this brings me to another issue, they promise trustworthiness. What is the currency of a political party? What's the only thing that you can believe in a party? It's not how people look who run the party. It's not how they look, their ethnicity, etc. It is their program. Not just how much they can promise, because everybody could promise. Glenn Lal could promise you the moon and the star. You got all kinds of, some who are trying to challenge us, but they better be cautious. They got to come right. Because it's a free country politically, but they may have interpreted our being quiet as a sign of weakness. It's not so. When the right time comes, we deal with them. But you have others who talk all the time, every day, outdoing each other for promises, making promises. So, is it the promise that you judge a party by, or by its delivery on the promises? APNU made promises in 2015. Everything under the sun. They would clean up corruption. They ended up 3 years, did not submit their statements to the Integrity Commission. Now we have charged several APNU ministers, Patterson is in before the court. Now he's charged because he took an unsolicited bid contrary to our Procurement Act to the cabinet and awarded the contract. That's illegal by law. He's before the court. The same Patterson awarded a contract, this ministry awarded a contract to one of their consultants from Jamaica to supply scales. The scale never came to Guyana. Charged for that before the court. Jordan has been charged for corruption because they sold properties worth millions of US dollars for tens of thousands of dollars. They sold a ton of land, transported the land before we came in. In fact, changed the ownership of the land without collecting a cent. We've had to take back all those lands. Look at Wales. They gave out all the lands at Wales. We need land to build 14,000 house lots for people. We're taking it back there, right there, so that the people in Region 3 can get it. They gave it all out. But what's happening now? The courts of this country, we can't even get one of them tried so far. They've been charged almost 3-4 years. You bet if it was a PPP minister, they would have already tried him and convicted him as they tried to do in the past when they had no evidence of corruption. The same thing is happening with the rigging case. The commission, an international COI, concluded that the chief elections officer, the deputy, and Mingo were all complicit in a plot with APNU. This is the findings of an international COI, that they were complicit to rig the elections. We can't get their cases heard again. So we need to ensure, and they get a free pass. Patterson suddenly becomes a consultant or writes articles for the Starbrook News. They forgot all about the corruption in the past. So we need to ensure. Okay, all right. The president has to go now. He has to fly. Let's stand and thank him for being here. He has to go to Jamaica now. You want to go to Jamaica? Irfan, carry this girl here to Jamaica. No, Irfan is a married man, unlike me. Yeah, I could say that, right? I forgot that before the first lady. The first lady called me next thing and said, that's what you're encouraging? All right. Relax. Go and sit down there. I know. All right, okay. So the thing is that we have to ensure that all of these issues, that we deal with them definitively. Today I can go on and talk to you about a lot of these things. What we need to do, as the president said, is to raise our own level of consciousness. The own level of consciousness. If we don't do that, the same forces are going to come back and dupe us. So, once again, as I said before, Ramjatan now back in Berbice to tell the sugar workers who they fired, the 7,000 sugar workers, that he loves them once again. He loves the sugar workers. In Parliament, he says, oh, the sugar industry is a black hole. You shouldn't put more money, but they're back at it again. So I want all of you to be conscious of what we are battling here. We have a clear vision. Norton said the PPP, we should go back and use the National Development Strategy. So the National Development Strategy, when asked by the media, wasn't that a document by the PPP? He said no, it was produced by civil society. I know because Cheddi Jagan asked me to lead the team, and I handed that over to him. We have a clear vision. We have plans for every sector. They do not have plans for these sectors. So what I wanted you to do today, I know it's late and people have to go back very far. So I hope that you're going to pay attention to all these things, the challenges that we're faced in. This is a party that makes a big difference in people's lives. You have seen it, a party that works with energy, a party that has a clear vision, and all of you are going to be part of it. So thank you very much for being here. We remain true to Cheddi Jagan's vision. Thank you very much.